In 2010, at the age of 10, I started skateboarding. At first it was just a vague interest of mine that my parents encouraged as to trick me into spending my free time outside socialising. However, it quickly became more than that. Between the ages of 10 and 15, I could have, by a stretch, been labelled a skater, though my skills on the board improved at such a glacial pace that anyone would assume I was doing anything but skating when I went out with my friends for the day. And to be honest, they would be assuming correctly. You see, I was always much more a partaker in skateboarding culture than I ever was a skater. A poser perhaps, but I was fascinated with the activities and art forms adjacent to skating. The music, the fashion, the parties, but most obsessively, the video games. The original Skate trilogy, developed by Black Box and published by Electronic Arts, released near back-to-back in a 3-year period spanning from 2007 to 2010. Just as Burnout was starting to take its ugly toll on the Tony Hawk franchise and its up to this point loyal fanbase, Skate arrived like a breath of fresh air, both aesthetically and mechanically. I got Skate the year before I got a skateboard. I had saved up all year for a PlayStation 3, and for Christmas had demanded politely a PS3 game from anyone who dared ask me what I wanted. The original Skate was one of the games that had accumulated in a pile next to the shiny new console on Christmas morning. I admit it wasn't the first game I played, no, that was the Saboteur? A game that gave me nightmares for weeks. I mean, I'm sorry to derail this, but who gets a 9-year-old this? Anyway, before bed that night I needed a palate cleanser. One can't simply sleep with this on your mind. So I popped in Skate. And to be honest, things have never been the same. Ever since, I have played Skate and its 2 sequels religiously, non-stop, all throughout my adolescence and now into my adulthood. It has been there. Where I go, Skate goes. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but since that day, I think Skate has been the one constant in my life. I think the biggest thing Skate afforded me, beyond just being a time waster, was the ability to partake in skating culture without actually being any good at skateboarding. What Skate provided less athletically inclined, hormone-ravaged teenagers such as my past self was the lowdown on the language, style and music of skateboarding. A notoriously and historically gate-kept subculture. Skate was my gateway into the community that would shape my adolescence. So today, I will examine how Skate perfectly prepares you for being a skater. Before I do though, please subscribe to the Any Button to Start channel, like this video and comment any thoughts you have down below. Now let's get on with it. In every way, Skate felt more grounded than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and that all lies in the depiction of the sport and culture. Just think about that name, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Its immediate goal is to make you aware of the game's heightened credentials. They got the Birdman for this game? What I believe this achieves is the mythologizing of the Hawkster and his pro skater friends within the game. These people are not you. They are elite, pro athletes, pulling off feats of skill you couldn't dream of. I mean, what else could Bam's shit-eating grin mean? Skate, on the other hand, seems to skew its presentation of skateboarding in the complete opposite direction. Of course, these games still do contain cameos from famous faces within skating culture, though they're not presented with the same grandeur as they are in THPS. These are just normal dudes, skating around the city, same as you. Despite the cameos, I think that is the largest contributor to Skate's popularist appeal. The focus on you. Now yes, other skating games had included character customization before Skate, though that isn't exactly what I'm talking about here. The Skate trilogy are each structured around the player and their identity as a skateboarder. Obviously starting with the creation and naming of your custom skater, but then continuing into the narrative with the player's rise from beginner to sponsored pro. The focus on your skater's meteoric rise allows the game to feel tailored to each individual player, and when the third game tasks you with starting your own skate brand and customizing it to your liking, it feels as though the developers were leaning into the series' reputation for player self-expression. And that was a well-earned reputation. Skate's devotion to allowing players wiggle room for their own style wasn't just relegated to the character customization screen, and if you look hard enough, it can even be found within its gameplay. Skate is famous for its patented Flick-It control scheme, which is where most of the gameplay freedom lies. The Flick-It system is a control scheme that allows the player to partake in and better control the tricks within the game. Instead of mapping tricks and grinds to specific face buttons like Tony Hawk, Skate allows the player to emulate the movements required to pull off their desired trick. The idea is that players flick the right analog stick in a similar motion to a skater's feet, mimicking the movements for any given trick. An ollie, for instance, is achieved by holding the stick down and then flicking straight up. A kickflip sees the player holding down and flicking up to the right, and so on and so forth. This allows for a stronger sense of player avatar cohesion and player self-expression than skateboarding games with face button tricks and rhythmic combos. The greater control the Flick-It system provides the player allows them to experiment more with their tricks and lines. And when matched with the sketchy/clean mechanic that rewards players for landing tricks smoothly and with extra flair, it feels as though the devs are basically begging the players to toy with the deep and satisfying gameplay system at the heart of the Skate experience. Let me not understate this. The Flick-It system did something revolutionary for the skateboarding genre and player freedom within it. In Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the player always has two play verbs, those being move and do trick, mapped to analog stick and face buttons respectively. Skate, however, uses its unique and innovative control scheme to marry those two play verbs together. By mapping tricks to flicks of the analog stick, the play verb do trick actually becomes part of move. This streamlining of player input may seem to narrow the scope of player action, but instead it opens up the possibilities greatly. With the 360 degrees of movement of the analog stick, tricks can have variations in ways not seen in other skating titles that mainly use button map tricks. This system allows the game to emulate the techniques of real skating. Tricks are simply shifting of the weight and movement of one's feet to control the board, so Skate gives you near full control of those feet. Hell, a truly devoted player could study the animations of the tricks and their corresponding flick patterns to teach them that trick in real life. And, well, growing up, let's just say I knew a few devoted players. Apart from gameplay, Skate's presentation similarly teaches and democratizes skating culture. When going back and playing some Tony Hawk in research for this video, I was struck with how abrasive the series' presentation is, especially in the music. Of course, for the longest time, skateboarding culture has been viewed as adjacent to the aggressive punk and underground rap scenes. So, Tony Hawk's pick of CKY's 96 Quite Bitter Beings and Hush by KRS-One makes sense when one understands the extremely narrow and increasingly old-fashioned image of skateboarding the Birdman franchise has always been chasing. Once that idea strand has solidified, one may also begin to understand why Skate and its comparatively mellow presentation was such a breath of fresh air in 2007, after almost 10 years of the Hawks' reign. Of course, Skate did still have thrashing punk songs and pumping rap, though it was sprinkled amongst a mix of genre and era eclectic enough to perhaps encompass the ocean-wide musical taste of the skater. Anecdotally, my long ago disbanded cohort of skating adjacent acquaintances included likings for music so varied that every time a portable Bluetooth speaker would emerge from someone's Supreme side pouch or Vans backpack, a fight would almost certainly break out. I didn't know about my friends at the time, but I personally would get many of my music recommendations from the licensed soundtracks of the Skate trilogy. The first time I heard Goodbye Horses, I was carving through the Super Ultra Mega Park in Skate 3, and the original Skate introduced a young me to Queen Bitch by David Bowie and Rick Ross's Hustlin', two songs still in my rotation today. What I'm getting at with all of this is that Skate understood the endlessly diverse nature of skateboarding culture. It understood that not every person who knows how to ollie will necessarily be enticed by Motorhead or Anthrax. If it wasn't obvious, Skate was my gateway into skateboarding culture. And in today's video, I wanted to examine what about Skate as a franchise made it so accessible to those completely out of the loop kickflips and pop shove-its. After many musings, I came up with the points presented today, though that musing was spurred by an unexpected development in the world of video game news. The long-awaited reboot of the Skate franchise has been confirmed to be in development for a few years now. Though recently, as to not let hype die completely, EA shared some news about the game. News that, unfortunately for them, stirred some rather loud controversy. The publisher announced that the new game, simply titled Skate, would be a free-to-play live service, monetized through microtransactions. Now, I'm not going to sit here and explain the gaming community's long-standing and justified beef with predatory monetization practices like the ones proposed for Skate, but I will quickly go over some of my personal fears about the change and how they may affect the elements of the franchise praised earlier in this video. My biggest worry concerns how the monetization of cosmetics will affect the spirit of self-expression I so cherished in the original trilogy. The idea that I have to spend real-world money to make my character look the way I want just seems counterintuitive to the original intentions in allowing the player to customize their characters in the first place. And seeing as this new game will be majoritively online, I can only predict that a toxic, flexing culture will emerge within the player base. The real catastrophizer within me can even imagine new tricks being sold as microtransactions like the emotes of something like Fortnite, but of course that is pure conjecture. My plan for the game is to approach it with cautious optimism, because we won't be getting another one if this one totally bails. Oh, and whatever you do, don't ruin the game for yourself by playing that alpha build that leaked. That is not the full game and is basically just a prototype, so I'd just wait. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Skate in the comments, both the original trilogy and this new release. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to any button to start. Well anyway, until next time.